So anyway, I think this guy here is going to be my most favorite journalist. His name is, can you see that? His name is Nicholas D. KRISTOF, and he writes for the New York Times, and I get the 8 pages of the New York Times once a week in one of the papers that are over here. And it's about the only thing I read because it's about the only thing I like. And I actually even like it that it's a bit, that you can tell that it's Jewish, because in a lot of ways the Jewish have a little bit of style because they've been going out a long time. I mean, these are the Jews that aren't Zionists. They don't buy the book that the Torah is holy. They grew up in a Christian Jewish family, and so they call themselves Jews, just like a lot of Muslims call themselves Muslims, but when it comes down to it, they don't want to kill you. Okay? And this is the kind of guy that doesn't want to kill you. And anyhow, he was explaining things that Obama should be thinking about, and one of the things, of course, was Guantánamo Bay, and what the hell to do with Guantánamo Bay, and why the hell are Americans there, and should they still be there? And I think this is such a major issue that it cannot be ignored by Mr. Obama. And this is what Nicholas is, Mr. KRISTOF is saying here, and he is repeating a health organization. I would suggest you read this, Putting Torture Behind Us by Nicholas D. KRISTOF of the New York Times. I'm sure you'll find it that way. Okay? And what he suggests, that the health organization suggests, is that instead of just giving Guantánamo Bay back to the Cubans and saving all the money that they're pissing away there to be there, okay, instead of just doing that as some kind of a gesture saying, okay, we'll give up this nonsense, make a research foundation there. And so instead of thinking of Guantánamo Bay as a place where they torture people because they look like they're brown or Muslim, or talking to brown people or Muslims, I mean, that's got to get sort of rubbed away out of our history. But the only way to do it clearly and nicely is with something that's a little sensible. And so they suggest research for diseases in the tropics and whatnot. So like malaria and all these things is a serious problem on this planet, and you never really think about it because, well, it hasn't really been a serious problem in the Western world for a while. But the Western world and the Eastern world and the Middle world, they're all one thing anymore. I mean, it's an invasion from one side if you look at it, but it's an inevitable invasion. We're all here on one planet, and it has to sort of even itself out. We're going to have some kind of a new world order. There's no way to avoid it. I know this is all getting around in a circle, but we have to start picking at things that make more sense. And I think this idea of making Guantánamo Bay into a research center to help people in these tropical countries with their diseases that they can't afford to deal with right now, it would be a gesture that would make America look more sensible again. It would make them look like they're not retarded. It would make them look like they've read Kurt Vonnegut Jr. and they know who, I don't know, anybody is. But instead of just watching their video games and acting like a bunch of idiots, start to use your head. And one thing you could do by starting to use your head is the ideas of these, what do they call them? The ideas, the opinions and commentary in the New York Times is either very good or brilliant, and I've never spent much time reading newspapers until I get hooked on these guys, and they're really good, and their ideas are very good, and I'm sure Mr. Obama has heard this idea, and I think this guy should be his advisor, and then we'll skip right over to the World War VI or whatever we're working on right now, and then we'll finish this up for today. Did we miss any points? Oh, Christ. Oh, Antichrist, yeah. So if you want, so just for the Christ bit again, all you have to do to be a Christ, which means there can be hordes of them, is to disagree with the hype. To say, no, I don't believe your religion, Mom. It's just not sensible. It's all right to have sense. It's all right to have common sense. And we need to start using common sense. This is part of our instinct. We need to know our instinct. We need to know that we're animals. Otherwise, we're not going to survive. Because if we start grabbing onto these lies and say, okay, God, we're going to hang on to you now because it's our only chance, we're fucking done. We're toast. And what's going to happen is the next war, and it is going to be so like the predictions that people are going to actually believe that it was God's will. Okay? It is not God's will. It is the business of war will. The problem is war has been the industrial, what do you call it? The president called the military industrial complex of America is completely and utterly out of control. They've got an air force that can slaughter everybody, but they get nothing really to help anybody. But great, they can slaughter everybody. What was the point? The point is, it's not going to work anymore. It's retarded. What they're doing is terrorism. Terrorism isn't anything new. It's just a reaction to war, and you can't fight American airplanes, so you do it differently. And so they're doing it with terrorism. It's not like they have a choice. And this war in Iran has to be stopped. Nobody even calls it a war yet, but it is a war. And it's going to get uglier and uglier and uglier if we can't officially make it stop. So let's do like these people did in this crazy thing, send the devil back to hell, and start praying no matter what your religion is. Get out in the streets, pray, beg if you have to. Do not go into this war with Iran. It will be a bloody mess, and it will be a stinky mess. The skies will be burning, and people will be screaming, this is Armageddon, or Armageddon, or however they say it. It ain't, but it'll be just fucking like it. Anybody that can see where we're sitting with oil at its cusp, trying to get out the last bit of oil, and oil has got this horrible name now. It's become the curse of a planet, which it is. Oil has become the curse of our planet. Lithium will be the next curse, because everybody wants to make batteries, and all the lithium is stored in one place in South America, and they're not going to give it up unless this and this and this. That'll be the next fucking show. We've got to find a fucking alternative to lithium. We've got to find a fucking alternative to our complete and utter madness of needing to have so much shit that we can't fucking slow down and take it easy and to find some completely different alternatives instead of always having to go there and hurry up. Instead of finding alternatives to driving the car, fucking forget the car. Fucking make trains. It'll use a lot less energy. We'll have a lot more time to move on to something different. Just stop driving your cars. If you stop driving your cars, share one car with 10 people. Drive your car with 6 people in it instead of 1. Do some serious consideration, because if you can stop consuming oil or cut it down in a big way, you might avoid this war with Iran. And this war with Iran would be a fucking ugly one, okay? Iraq was nothing. Iraq was ugly, but it was nothing. And Afghanistan's a mess, but it's always been a mess. But the Iranians, they're waiting for it. They're almost begging for it. The extremists are saying, hey, yeah, come on, fuck with us, you fuckers. Who do you fucking think you are? And of course, if it was Bush, he would say, oh, well, we're the fucking big fucking Americans. Well, luckily we got fucking Obama in there, because he might actually open his mouth and say, let's talk. And if he does that, he will be my hero. And if he can stop the Iranian war, which will be a world fuck up for a while for sure, then what more could you ask to stop this Iranian war? But I think we really have to be serious about talking about this war in Iran, because everybody's just sort of waiting for it to happen. We sort of have to start thinking, well, maybe we can figure out a way for it not to fucking happen.